weekend racing. It's time to recap it. And who better to do it than Michael and Magic? Two bros/pros who cover the highs and lows of racing around the globe on every one of the shows. Real fans look forward to these guys and their last dance, cause they know they're not talking out of their royal ascot. What they say makes sense. So ladies and gents, sit back and relax as Blinkers Off presents The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.
What's up, everybody? I'm Magic. Welcome to a special episode of The Magic Mike Show 304. I've got Mr. Aaron Halterman here for me, filling in for Mike Salmich. Aaron, how you doing, buddy?
Oh, I'm great. I'm doing great. Today's definitely a recovery day. Kind of feel like I've been hit by a bus a little bit, but just fantastic, man. I'm glad to be home, and I'm really happy to be on and talk about these races.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. So Mike is traveling back from Las Vegas. He was at NHC this past weekend. He and I will be on probably tomorrow, Tuesday, to talk about his thoughts about the weekend, and also hear a lot about his NHC experiences. His second year going. He didn't qualify for the final day. I blame myself for not being there as his hype man. So, Mike, I apologize. We'll make it better next year. But Aaron, you were at Saratoga, as your name says, Travers Hangover. The reason I wanted to have you on is because I wanted to hear from you. You were there live. You got to experience all of the great action. You got to see some really crazy shit in the stands and happening with one particular fan. So, I'm excited for you to tell everybody on the Magic Mike Show all about your experiences this weekend. It's going to be exciting.
I'm going to try my best. I've never had a weekend or a day, I guess Saturday, quite like what that was. It was something special. Great trip. Saratoga Slim just put on the performance of a lifetime. If you hadn't seen all that comments, it was all that content. It was unbelievable. And you know what? There was some things happening on that track that were pretty unbelievable as well. I mean, we had some fantastic races. So I hope you're ready to roll because we got a lot to cover, right? I feel like every race was just incredible. Yeah,
and I've got plenty of great questions for us to go into here. If you'll humor me, this is going to be a very Saratoga-heavy show, as it should be. If you'll humor me, we're going to talk about Del Mar twice. Once at the very beginning, once at the very end. It'll be just like getting a shot. You won't even notice it. So, because I want to start, the best thing that I saw before we get into Saratoga was my past week, Saturday at Del Mar. I got to go down and I got to see everybody at Del Mar. I got to see our good friend John Lees and be the guest on the simulcast show for the third time. Gave out winners of the first three races. Which was exciting, especially because I only could stay for the first four races. I'd hurry up and take the train back home. But, it was just a great experience being on the show with John. I know you probably didn't get a chance to listen to it because you were at Saratoga, and that was where your focus should have been. But people listening probably didn't catch it. John and I spent most of the show, this is how nerdy we are, Aaron. We kept throwing little jabs at each other, little inside jokes while we were talking about horses, trying to make the other one laugh. I got him a couple of times, so that's the fun of doing it. I also had a thing called the kettle corn race. John would ask me what I thought about a race, and I called it kettle corn. It's kind of the family-friendly version of what you do in the guide sometimes, where you just say, listen, this race is a mess. Don't bet it. Take your money and go get a beer. I said go get kettle corn because I was craving it. So that was a good hit. A few people said that they ended up buying kettle corn because of that. So I guess I did my part. But that was the best thing that I saw. So being back at Del Mar with John, it was a lot of fun.
That was that's awesome because people that don't know, Magic always gets a big bag of kettle corn when he goes to Del Mar and he eats it on the train back. And so, we'll be walking out and he goes, oh shit, wait, and he'll run back and get the kettle corn. So, that really, that's hilarious. I love that. Can I do best thing I saw today and brag about you a little bit?
Wait, about me?
Yeah, the best thing I saw this weekend was I don't know, his fourth or fifth race maybe at Saratoga, and I get a text from John White. He says, you should be so proud to have Curtis as your employee. He is doing a fantastic job on this Del Mar show. And you know what? It's pretty awesome, right? I mean, a guy like John White, a legend in the game, bragging on you. I mean, that's pretty amazing. So I love that I can be at Saratoga acting like a fool, and I've got guys that are on the Del Mar simulcast really representing, the site well, while Saratoga Slim's dressed up like Borat and handing out Racing Dude's koozies. So it's good that we have both angles of that.
Wow. Well, thank you. I really didn't. I really thought it was going to be a Saratoga Slim. I was waiting for you to tell everybody about this crazy nut job. If I can get it to load on the computer here. Yeah, he was talking to Hall of Fame trainers and Grade 1 winning trainers. He's in the background of the Gamine photo. I thought this might be the best thing that you saw.
Well, I will say it certainly okay. Yeah, it is. It was really quite amazing. I could tell you like 300 stories, but the funniest one ever was he ran up to take a selfie with Steve Asmussen. Yeah, there he is, crashing the Twitter circle picture. He ran up to take a selfie with Steve Asmussen, and he said something to him, and I was kind of a little bit far away. I couldn't tell, but he said something to him. Steve Asmussen doubled over in laughter, like he could barely contain himself. And if you see the selfie with Asmussen and Borat Capper, Asmussen can barely, put it on screen. You could look at the smile on this guy's face. This guy broke the North American record for training wins. He didn't smile like this. I mean, Slim had him in tears almost. I don't know what he said, but it was something.
Oh my God, that was great. There was the part where he was bowing to Bob Baffert, calling him Boob Baffert, best trainer in the world.
Well, he took a selfie with Dallas Stewart to start the day, and Dallas was nice about it. And then he walked by him again, and I don't know if it was Dallas's wife, sister, or somebody about his age, sat there and go, "Come here, we got to take a picture of her." And Dallas looks up and he goes, "No, not him again." And she goes, "No, no, no." And Dallas just says this. I can't believe I have to deal with this guy again. He yelled at all the jockeys as they were coming out on the track. I think Joel Rosario about fell off the horse. He was laughing so hard at what he was telling him. So, I mean, it was.
Wait, could you hear what he was saying to Joel? Because I heard about this.
I don't remember. I don't remember exactly what he said to Joel. He yelled at the new governor of New York. He kept chanting, "Cuomo, go home," right to the governor of the new governor of New York. I can't remember what he said to the jockeys. He called Irad the greatest in the world. That was hilarious as well. So, there he is with Jonathan Thomas,
trainer of his favorite horse, Catholic boy.
Well, and what's weird about that is he wrote one of the first articles on Jonathan Thomas. Saratoga Slim wrote it, and it was fantastic. It was on the site. Matter of fact, it was so good. I was down there 2 weeks later, and Jonathan Thomas walked by me downtown and saw the logo on my shirt and said, "Hey, are you affiliated with them?" I said, "Yeah, I own it." And he goes, "Oh, I want to thank you for the article Saratoga Slim did." So you fast forward, 3-4 years later, and he's dressed as Borat taking a selfie. Thomas has no idea who it is. He's looking at him like, okay.
Oh, Saratoga Slim. I heard it. Yeah, the stories I was hearing, I was having a great time at Del Mar, but it really made me jealous. It sounded like you guys were having a blast. So that's what happens when you finish last in the Racing Dudes Fantasy League and Jared wins is something you just get put in an awkward costume. I'll hand it to him. Slim grabbed that by the reins and just took off with it. Jared's idea was to just humiliate him, and Slim said, "I'm going to turn this into a whole big spectacle and make me the star."
It was incredible. We were talking on the plane home, and Jared's like, "Yeah, he set the standard." I said, "The problem is there's nobody on earth that could have done what he did on Saturday." Sure, you're going to put Dan in a Borat costume. I love you, Dan, but you're not going to be able to pull that off. You're not going to be able to act like Slim did. I mean, he was just so hysterical all the way through. I mean, my face hurt for 2 days now, just laughing so hard at all the stuff that he did. It was amazing.
Well, speaking of amazing, Aaron, that's a great segue. We saw a lot of amazing racing this weekend at Saratoga, a little bit at Del Mar. Let's get into it, buddy. Riders up. All right, Aaron, the first race we're going to look at, Saratoga Race 4 on Saturday, August 28th, kicking things off for the Grade 2 $400,000 Ballston Spa Stakes Inner Turf route. for fillies and mares. Chad Brown, 3 of the 6 entries in here. Probably a good bet that he was going to win it. Which one? That's the question. Viadera, the 4-5 favorite, gets up by a nose with Joel Rosario to start it off. It was not that surprising to me. She was the 4-5 favorite there. I thought Tama here was a little depressing it as the 5-1 choice. I thought maybe she could go gate to wire. Doesn't happen, but based off what you saw there, Aaron, live in person, was Viadera's performance enough to add her into the picture for the Filly Mare Turf?
I'm going to go with no on that. And that's, you have to be pretty good, I think, to win that race or compete in that race, I should say, this year. You always have to be good to win it, but that's a very deep division, in my opinion. I don't think this was quite good enough. I think she's a little cut below that kind of level. It was a good race, but listen, they finished in a blanket here, right? And I think going into this was not a real strong race that really jumped off the page like the other 6 we're going to talk about here in a second. This was almost like a quote-unquote filler type of race. I think that's why they put it early on the card. So no to that question. No, I don't think she did enough here.
I mean, was there anybody in this race with the 6 horses, even if maybe someone who didn't get a trip or was pace compromised, anybody that you like moving forward, or was this really a good fit for a grade 2 field?
I really, and of course, where these horses get spotted next will be the ultimate answer if I'm going to play them next time out. But I really felt like this was a little disappointing all the way around. High Opinion, man. I mean, I guess that horse ran pretty well. You have to throw that one out there. It's like, wow, at 8-1, that horse showed that she's pretty solid, but she did rally up the rail. She had a shot there at the end. I'm not a huge fan of any of these going forward unless they're really spotted in a smart spot. Now, listen, Chad Brown's a trainer of 3 of them. He spots his horses very well. So maybe, you do play one of them back, but this was not a particularly strong race, in my opinion.
Well, in the 94 buyers, the top 2 finishers get kind of show that's good, not great, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's why it's race 4 on the Travers card. We can quickly move on to the next race, the 6th race, talk about race 7. That's the grade 1 Kettle 1 Ballerina Handicap. No question here who the best horse was, Gamine, the 2-5 favorite going out of the gate, 1-5 favorite going out of the gate. John Velasquez put it on the front end. No surprise there. She's now won 9 of 10 starts. Aaron, my question for you, can you picture a scenario in which Gamine loses the Filly Mare Sprint at this point?
No. Here's the deal. I don't think she's quite as good as last year. I don't think these races this year have been quite as sharp. I don't think this was just like an amazing performance, but it's very workmanlike. It's very clear that Gamine is better than anybody in the division right now. The key to getting her beat is somebody showing up that has the capability to do it. I don't think last year anybody was capable of doing it because she was just that good. I mean, like Serengeti Empress couldn't match up with her. I think if Serengeti Empress was still around this year, she might have a better shot. I don't know. I don't think anybody can beat her unless she just doesn't show up with her A race. I think that's about the only way at this point.
One question that we've had from people, and one that's been touched on for the Racing Dudes, the trainer Bob Baffert, not one that we're big fans of, the Racing Dudes team, but a horse like this, I mean, she's such a beast in person. You guys got to see her in person. She's just hulking and very impressive out there. Do you feel conflicted rooting for her when she's racing?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about that on Bleakers Off some, and I jokingly said I was going to boo, and it's one of those things. Yeah, I am conflicted, I guess is the right answer to the question. But I don't know. I'm kind of over it in that regard. I mean, it is what it is, right? I mean, the horse is awfully talented. I think that's a fact. And I guess we should just enjoy how well she's running. But I think we also should keep our eyes open for an up-and-coming sprinter that's really doing well coming into the Breeders' Cup, and maybe we can get an upset.
We'll find out maybe who that is a couple of weeks down the road here. Let's talk about the next race, the Forego Stakes. This is the second race they had straight. There was 7 furlongs on the dirt. This one for males 4 and up. One of the craziest things I've ever seen happen, and this happened as I walked in the Del Mar press box. I looked up on the TV screen and I saw this happen. Firenze Fire riding up alongside the pace setter Yopan. As he's trying to pass him, decides I'm going to take a bite out of his nose while I'm going by. Ends up not working out. Jose Ortiz able to pull him off Yopan. Yopan ends up winning by a head there. You can argue if Firenze Fire was the better horse, was probably going to win in that race if he belongs in the top 3 stars. Not what we're going to talk about. Aaron, in all your days spent at racetracks, have you ever seen something as wild as that stretch run there?
No.
What was that like for you?
I tell you what, this got that track buzzing, and then the buzz didn't stop. But this started it in a big, big way. First of all, the only other time I've actually even seen that happen, I wasn't there, but I actually saw it like on a television monitor, a computer monitor. It happened to Frenzy Fire at Parks. He got bit, or another horse was trying to bite him. It was wild as hell watching this down the stretch live. And it's funny, and this is not me bragging, but I knew exactly what had happened the moment it happened. And like the other guys were like, did Yaupon like hit the rail? Like what happened? And Ricky was like, I think their equipment got stuck together. And I'm like, maybe it did, because there's no way he tried to bite him for like 3 seconds, right?
And it wasn't one bite.
I know. I kept telling him, I said, I'm pretty sure he tried to bite him. And then when they showed like the slow-mo replay on the monitors, and that place went nuts. I mean, people were laughing, people were screaming, people were like, I can't believe it. It was the talk of the track for like 30 minutes until, of course, the next race that we'll get to stole the show again. But I've never been involved with something as crazy as that. It was unbelievable. Like the two things I loved about it when I saw the replays of like the head on and stuff, it seemed like his neck grew like 10 feet when he was reaching out. Like he looked like a giraffe. It was unbelievable. And his eyes were about to bug out of his head. He was so angry. I mean, he gets a hold of the bridle. He gets him above the eye once. It was incredible. Like I don't think we'll ever see that again.
I love the Dennis in the chat. Said, I think it's seriously they were next to each other so long. Frenzy Fire just got angry and took a snap at him.
What was wild, I don't think he snapped at him until he barely pulled ahead of him. Like he was fighting to get ahead. He barely gets ahead. He bites. He falls back, and then he re-rallies, and he almost wins again. I mean, he would have won the race without any question, right? This was just incredible that he cost himself the race in this kind of manner, so to speak. And don't remember, Frenzy Fire is a horse that has always struggled at Saratoga.
Yeah.
So here he is in the perfect chance to win a huge Grade 1 race, and that's what he does. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, that's the thing. I was watching, and I was like, of course, Frenzy Fire, like he loses, like he's not going to win at Saratoga. So there's the that's he's going to find a new way to lose this time. Mark brought up, we can move on real quick after this, but Mark brought up a good point that you've got a Grade 1 sprint here, and the top 4 finishers from start to finish pretty much raced in that order. When you see something like that happen, does it discount your opinion of Yaupon and Frenzy Fire? Because clearly they're going to go off down the trail towards the Breeders' Cup Sprint as long as they stay healthy.
Well, you have to remember, one of the closers was Whitmore, who was injured and now going to be retired out of the race. Another one that was trying to come from the back is Mischievous Alex, who his trainer could not win. Like
can't buy a win, yeah.
Yeah. Doubly Blessed got hurt and broke down out of the race. He was trying to come from off of it. Lexingtonian was just, he is what he is, right? Like if he's 80-1, he runs great. And if he's even a reasonable price, he doesn't. I don't know why. So some of the closers just had excuses that were legitimate. I mean, yeah, you take away a little bit for sure. I think there's better sprinters out there than what these two were, no doubt.
Mark says, you brought it up, happy retirement to winner. That's the one burning bonus question. Whitmore retires after this. And Aaron, when I saw it, I didn't realize that he had retired or that he'd been vanned off after the race. I just saw in the chart that he'd run poorly. I was like, they need to retire him. So saw that they retired him, and happy retirement to him. What is your favorite Whitmore memory?
Oh, boy. That's a tough one. I think the obvious answer is he finally gets that Breeders' Cup win, right? I mean, that was a big one. But honestly, my favorite one was when he won up here at Saratoga in the Forego on Travers Day a couple of years ago. What was that? Was that 2 or 3 years ago now? Maybe 3 years ago? I think it was the year Catholic Boy won the Travers, maybe.
That'd be 2018
or 19? I think
he won it in 18. I think he won it. No, Code of Honor won it in 20. No, Code of Honor was 2019. Right.
I can't remember which year he won it, but anyway, he did win it up there. That was probably my favorite one, just because that was just like, wow, he won a race at Saratoga, because he was just the Oaklawn beast for the longest time, and to win up there, it was pretty special. But no, I guess the obvious answer is the Breeders' Cup, but I'll go with the Forego just to be different.
Well, that's why I asked you, because you've seen virtually every race that horse has had, and he's close to 40 starts for his career. So I figured if anybody would have a good one that wasn't the Breeders' Cup Sprint, because that's mine, it'd be you. So glad we could talk about that. Let's move on to the next race. This is going to be the Grade 1 HL and Jerkens Memorial Stakes. As Aaron said, the last race, the Forego, that got the buzz started. This race built upon it in a major way. Life is Good. First time for Todd Pletcher. First time since he won the San Vicente Stakes at San Felipe. I always screw those up. The San Felipe Stakes at San Anita Park. Jackie's Warrior battles back, gets the win, runs up the inside, and a very impressive effort from both of these horses here. But Aaron, I don't know about the track and Twitter. The conversation after this was not that Jackie's Warrior was so much as impressive as Life is Good. Maybe Mike Smith kind of gave up the win. So my one burning question, did Mike Smith's ride on Life is Good, did that cost him the victory?
Well, it's kind of funny. When we watched the race live, we didn't see it because, you're watching that race live, and I don't know about people that are watching here, but when it starts to come down to just two horses down the lane, you kind of turn away from the TV monitor and you just kind of watch the two horses live. Because you're just like, wow, I want to remember this because this is going to be tight here, And I didn't really have the vantage point of how, Life is Good was being, handled in this race or where he was positioned on the track. I was just watching from like a fan's point of view and was like, wow, this is amazing. So I think the buzz around the track was entirely just, wow, what an amazing race we saw. But to your question, after getting home that next or that night, watching the replay, I also went back and watched it again today with clear eyes and sober eyes, so to speak.
Yeah.
And Mike Smith absolutely cost Life is Good this race. Life is Good should not have lost this race. Listen, this horse is something spectacular. He maybe showed more here than ever. You think about how fast that horse went early. So he blazed the track early. He was, I don't know why. I don't know if this was instruction or not. He was kept wide the whole time. Mm-hmm. He lets the next best horse in the race go right up the rail and save ground. He then re-rallies on that horse. And if you watch the last 100 yards, Rosario is riding for everything he's got to get Jackie's Warrior to the wire. And Mike Smith is basically doing nothing until the last 10 yards. And the horse was still re-rallying. It was an all-time, just like, I don't know what that was type of ride. It was so bad.
So I will say after the race, the post-race comments, Mike Smith said something along the lines of, if he gets too aggressive on Life is Good, the horse spooks and is like stops racing, is hard to control. But also Mike Smith almost lost the Haskell on Authentic because he was similarly thinking that he had the horse under control with his hands and didn't need to really do a lot of encouragement. It kind of reminded me a little bit of his ride on Authentic when he was a little overconfident and almost lost the Haskell. So I'd be curious to see if he keeps the mount. I know some people were trying to push for Luis Saez to get the mount next out, assuming he stays with Todd Pletcher. I have a burning bonus question for you out of this race. Where do you point Life is Good for the rest of the year? We know Jackie's Warrior is a sprinter. He is very clearly a one-turn horse, and he's amazing at it. Life is Good. This is, we saw him win 2 turns twice earlier this year. What do you do with him?
Just real quick before I answer that.
Sure.
Here's my rebuttal to Mike Smith's comment. What's the worst that can happen? You got passed. You're behind almost a length before you ask him to try to catch that horse again. What's the worst that could happen? Okay, you try to catch him and he drifts out or whatever Mike says he's going to do. Well, okay, you weren't going to beat him anyway. I would at least try. That's my thing. As far as where
I agree.
For anybody that needs a life advice, always try. Okay, that's really a good thing. Think about that. Remember that. Okay, so where do you point Life is Good for the rest of the year is really a very, very good question. It's funny. We have the same question mark about him now as we had when he was kind of leading up to the Kentucky Derby before he got injured. He got to run a mile and 16th, and we never got to see that next step to a mile and 8th. And I was on record saying, well, listen, he's going to run in the Santa Anita Derby, and that will tell us. Because if you can tell when a horse goes a mile and 1/8 if he wants to go any longer or if he's spent, we still don't really know how far he wants to go. The conservative approach would be like the dirt mile. Maybe run him in a race like the Kelso at Belmont. as a prep for the dirt mile. That's where if he was me, or if he was mine, I should say, I would do that. And then as a 4-year-old, progress him towards the longer races. But he's certainly brilliant enough to go to the Classic. I think he's got the talent, and I think it'll just be Todd Pletcher. Hopefully they let him make the decision of where to put him. He spotted him here in this race, and I don't think you could have found a tougher spot as far as having to face a horse like Jackie's Warrior, and he performed fantastically, if that's a word. So
I'll allow it. Yeah.
I think you trust Todd, but to me, if he was mine, I would go dirt mile.
I'm going to agree with you because you got to remember that these are still 3-year-olds, and he's coming back from a long injury. And like you said, Aaron, he's never gone beyond a mile and a 16th. So 7 furlongs, he comes back. This is a great spot. Say you go a mile and a 16th mile for his next start, then do a mile and a quarter for the first time. That's a huge step for this horse when the breeding into mischief out of a distorted humor mare doesn't really scream mile and a quarter is going to be a perfect fit for him. It could be. We saw Authentic handle it just fine, but it's a big question mark when he's never gotten close to it. So hopefully they take the conservative approach and we can see this horse run at age 4. I will say, and I told you this after he won the Sham Stakes, and then I think again after the San Felipe, that the people who know that how horses are going to progress and what they'll ultimately be best at. They think this is a 1-turn mile horse. They think there may be a 2-turn mile, but Life is Good will ultimately be best when he's in that sort of a situation. So I'd be curious to see how they handle him. I'm sure they'll want to take him back routing. We saw how good he was earlier this year. Medina Spirit is a horse he beat. What did Medina Spirit do since then? Pretty good horse. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah. So I mean, I think you take him to the dirt mile. Maybe you run him in like the Malibu. And then maybe like a Pegasus, I mean, you gotta think he could probably go do what Nick's Go did last year in the Pegasus, and then you put him there, and then you see kind of
Saudi Cup is a 1-turn mile in an 8th race. That's a great spot for him.
Yeah, I mean things like that kind of you progress him towards trying it rather than just let's throw him in the Classic now. I mean, I just think that's a lot to ask. For your first time going a mile and a quarter, or it's to put it better, the first time going longer than a mile and a 16th is the mile and quarter Breeders' Cup Classic. I don't think that makes sense.
I'm with you. Jackie's Warrior gets a 107 buyer, with tied for the highest buyer speed figure all weekend, along with Essential Quality, who we'll talk about in a minute. But also another horse on Sunday, Aaron. I have another burning question for you regarding the Breeders' Cup Sprint. Where do you rank last weekend's runners, including Bo Liam, with that 107 sparkling buyer for beating Allowance Company Sunday at Saratoga?
I'm not sure if he might be one of the best one. I mean, Bo Liam looked fantastic. He's another horse that went fast early and just blew away from him. I guess I won't rank Life is Good in the sprint because I do think he will go to the mile. But if he was in the sprint, I'd put him number 1. Honestly, I think he'd win it. But no, I would put Jackie's Warrior 1 because this horse has accomplished an awful lot. And then I'd put Bo Liam 2nd. I would rank them both ahead of Yalpon, Frenzy Fire, the Forego horses. And maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, but I really think Asmussen's got him over a barrel here. These two horses look fantastic.
Doesn't it kind of remind you a little bit of last year when he had Yopon and Nashville both kind of come? Nashville came on a little later, and they were both kind of pointing toward the Breeders' Cup like that. He's got the same situation with another set of 3-year-olds plus Yopon. So life is pretty good for Steve Asmussen. Life is also good if you're a fan of Latruska, and you better. In the personal ensign stakes, this is the next race to talk about, Aaron. Latruska, this is, in my opinion, the most impressive victory that she's had in her career, at least in America. They threw everything they could at her. They went at her early. They went at her in the middle. They went 4 wide trying to get at her in the stretch. She held off every horse every step of the way. Clearly the best horse in the division. I don't think that there wasn't any question coming into this race. I think she even solidified it further here, if possible. So my one burning question: if you could only single one or the other, but not both, Gamine and Latruska on Breeders' Cup weekend, which one do you feel more comfortable choosing?
Boy, that is a good question. I'm going to say Gamine because I don't think the competition's quite there. I think Well, there's really not a ton of competition for Latruska either. Yeah, but this horse got this horse in this race went super fast and still was able to hang on. You got to think, though, if there was one decent closer in this race, she may have got beat here because they were coming up on her. She was all guts, all heart. I'm not taking anything away from her, but at the same time, Bonnie South was chasing her home. I mean, that's not a superstar chasing that horse home. I mean, Dunbar Road hasn't ran well in forever. Royal Flag is not that great. So maybe if you get somebody that put up a little bit better effort, she would have got beat there. But still, I think they're both going to be strongly single. But I would still lean Gamine at this point.
I'm going to agree with you. I think that Gamine, she's going to have the home field advantage, right? She trains out in California normally with Bob Baffert. So, yeah, Mark says the problem is Del Mar plays a speed. Latruska generally. Well, Gamine's kind of fast up front too. I think it's an interesting discussion. The Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Sprint, to me, in my mind, I know the last couple of years we had Gamine and Kofefi win, but before that, it seemed like there was always big upsets. Bar of Gold was a huge upset in the race a few years back. So I feel like the Filly Mare Sprint, because you can't have things go wrong in a sprint, you can't have a bad trip. If she gets out of the gates poorly, if she's drawn inside, there's a lot of factors I think can screw up a sprint. So Latruska, there's a lot of argument to be had there. But this is such a dominant. Do you remember the last time seeing such a dominant performance in the distaff division from one horse over everybody else?
Oh man, Zenyatta. I'm trying to think. Monomoy Girl had a dominant 3-year-old year and then got hurt. And then the 5-year-old year was good, but it wasn't like a dominant. She didn't show up at all these races. She was very lightly campaigned. I feel like this horse has just kind of shown up everywhere. Every big filly and mare race she's been in. It's been a while. It's been a while. I'm sure if I thought back, maybe like Blind Luck having a grace when they were running, but they kind of traded off wins, so they weren't dominant like this one. Yeah, this has been really, really impressive.
Or like the Holder had stellar wind and Songbird during those points too. So
yeah. Well, I mean, Beholder, Songbird, and you brought up, or the commenter brings up Rachel. Those were more 3-year-olds. We're talking about older fillies and mares. There's Rachel at 3, but again, we're talking about older fillies and mares. There's not many that can do that.
Latruska says Latruska will not win the distaff. I said it with Ntola. If he lost that one race at Saratoga, he'd win the Breeders' Cup Sprint. I said if Latruska wins that race, she won't win the distaff. Well, she won there. I don't know. I feel like you're trying to connect threads that don't exist there, Dennis.
Yeah, I don't. Dennis, you say that a lot, and I don't agree with it. I'm not mouthing it, but I don't take that one thing for the next thing type thing.
They're too individual. You can't relate all these things. There's too many factors building up to each race. It's easy trap to fall into. I used to do it all the time.
I will say that, the other problem with this distaff division is Monomoy's not around right now, and Swiss Skydiver's finally done. So yeah, we are like She Dares the Devil. Is that who we're trying to beat her with? I mean, I know she did get a win at Del Mar, but it wasn't very impressive. So
whatever happened to Valiance? Did she just retire?
Valiance, let's see if she's had a work, actually. She was getting ready to run in that race up at Belmont.
She got sick or something, right?
Yeah, got sick, caught a fever.
I will tell you, Harvest Moon just started working a few weeks ago. They might go right to the distaff with her, give her one race and then the distaff.
I mean, Valiance hasn't had a work.
Yeah, so, she's probably retired then.
Yeah, something's happened to her. So it's like, who do we have? I guess Malathot, but I don't think Malathot's as good as that horse. I'd
love to see, because Baffert is always, all year long, keeps saying that he wants to stretch Gamine out. I want to see him send her to the Zenyatta. She wins the Zenyatta, so now she's got a berth in the distaff. Send Gamine to the distaff. Put her up against Latruska. Let's see those two just go 21 flat, 43.5.
I think Latruska would kill her at 1 1/8 miles. I don't.
Oh boy, we're gonna be so sad about that too.
Oh, I know, right? That would just be awful. No, I do think Latruska would beat her at 1 1/8 miles, no doubt.
Well, speaking of sad things, my co-host last week, JD Fox, almost gave out the pick 4. He was very sad Japan did not get up in time to win the Sword Dancer Stakes, or else he would have connected on it. Gufo gets the job done by a neck, finally gets another Grade 1 win after always coming just a little too close away from victory this year. A lot of people blaming Ryan Moore for the ride on Japan, that he should be shot and not ever allowed to ride a horse again. Sounds like he's back over in Europe. Aaron, what were your thoughts on this? And my one burning question, do any of the runners from this entire field entice you come Breeders' Cup?
Yeah, I think Gufo does because, this is a horse that's always had an elite talent to him. He's just kind of a screwy horse. They've had to really work with him to get that talent out of him. He was super fantastic in this race. That's the best way I could describe him because I thought Japan ran his ass off here and just come up a little bit short. Maybe it was a jockey's fault. I don't know. I don't really. It wasn't a great ride, but I think I want to credit Gufo a little more than that. I just thought they finally kind of put it all together with him. This is a horse that came home just as fast as Domestic Spending in the Manhattan, which was our strongest turf race probably of the year. Came home just as fast, just did a little more like, screwing around early in the race and got behind. I like Gufo. I like Gufo coming forward. We kind of talked to Miguel Clement a little bit, and he was like, hey, that was really good. Like that's what we've been wanting from that horse. So the question is yes, he definitely entices me moving forward.
Mark says Gufo has to be America's best hope in the Breeders' Cup Turf over Domestic Spending. Agree or disagree?
No, I don't really agree with that. But listen, I think they're kind of carbon copies of each other. I just think Domestic Spending is a little more tactical and is always going to have that first jump on Gufo. And it's really hard to outclose Domestic Spending if he's ahead of you when you turn for home. So that's my worry with him. But, say Domestic Spending draws inside, gets in some trouble, Gufo's on the outside. I think he gives us another hope is how I would call it. I say we have Hope 1 and Hope 1A.
I will tell you from watching a lot of racing at Del Mar this summer, the turf, and I talked to John Lees and he confirmed it. It's a very hard course to really be a dead closer on in a big field. When there's talented horses, it's very hard at Del Mar to close on the turf and get up for the win because you've got tighter turns, you've got shorter stretches. So I would take Domestic Spending over Gufo because I think Domestic Spending has shown us that he can sit mid-pack and still be as effective. Gufo always seems like he drops anchor, goes way to the back and tries to launch the run. I just think at Del Mar, that's something that's not going to work out for him. I've also been against Gufo. I was against him in this race. He ran an impressive race. It looked like the horse that won the Belmont Derby last year. Finally, we see that from him again. Aaron, we got two more races to talk about here. Let's move on. We're going to talk about the big one everybody was buzzing about after the races were all done at Saratoga on Saturday. The Grade 1 $1.25 million Run Happy Travers Stakes, Essential Quality. My God, this horse is amazing. Gets up for the win over Midnight Bourbon, who... Man, if there was one way you're going to beat this horse, this was it. He had the lone speed on the dirt, almost battles back to get the win, but Essential Quality gets the job done. My one burning question, Luis Saez says Essential Quality has now locked up Horse of the Year in his mind. Do you agree?
No. No. Because if Nick Sko wins the Breeders' Cup Classic, he's the Horse of the Year. Listen, he's certainly not locked up 3-year-old of the year. There's no question about that. But Horse of the Year, no, absolutely not. Look, this horse just does what he has to do to win. I don't know if he's the smartest horse ever or not, but he sure acts pretty damn smart. He just does what they ask him to do. And they ask him to win, and he does it every time. Save the Derby, which I still think something was wrong or he wasn't quite right in that race because we have evidence now seeing. When things don't go his way, he still wins, right? I mean, he had a horse and Hot Rod Charlie in the Belmont who ran the race of his life and didn't beat him. You had Keep Me in Mind, who got maybe the best trip at a big race you'll ever see by Joel Rosario. and he still couldn't beat Essential Quality. He was in the parking lot. And then to this race, you had a horse at Midnight Bourbon run 114 and change for 6 furlongs. There's no way this horse should have been caught, and he catches him. So it's amazing that he just keeps doing it.
I really love him. I love Essential Quality. I've loved him since he won the Breeders' Futurity as a 2-year-old. One thing I was thinking about, too, when we were talking about Jackie's Warrior. You remember Jackie's Warrior was a favorite in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile last year. Essential Quality gets the win. When's the last time that we had the two best horses from the Breeders' Cup Juvenile? Now they're aiming for the Breeders' Cup weekend as 3-year-olds, and they're both going to go in there as, if not the favorite, definitely one of the close favorites. So a burning bonus question for you, looking at the Classic, because that's where Essential Quality is going to be headed after this, or at least down the road. Where do the top 2 finishers from the Travers and the Shared Belief on Sunday rank in your mind?
Well, I'll throw out one of the top 2 finishers because Rock Your World was second in the shared belief, right?
Yes.
Okay, I don't think he could win a donkey race, so we're going to throw him out, okay? Medina Spirit certainly is going to play a factor. And the one horse that we kind of were like, because we're like, man, who's going to press Nick's Go? Medina Spirit might get up there and press him. Now, will Medina Spirit have a shot to win? No. I don't really think that's a horse that can win the Classic. He might be good enough to mess with Nick's Go a little bit. Top 2 finishers over on the other side. I think, Midnight Bourbon, we know what he is, right? I mean,
yep. You love to own this horse. You'd love to own this horse.
I love him, yeah, for that purpose, for sure. But would it shock you if he got like 3rd, beaten 6 in the Classic? No, not really. Nope. But he has no chance to win. And Essential Quality right now at this moment is my pick to win the Classic, pending the other speed in the race. To me, Brad Cox has this race right where he wants it. If there's no speed, Nick's Go will go gate to wire. If there's enough speed, Essential Quality will come get him. I'm pretty confident of that.
Hot Rod Charlie is going to be aiming for the Pennsylvania Derby, which it sounds like Medina Spirit and Rock Your World are heading either there, the Awesome Against Stakes at San Diego Park against older horses. Where does Hot Rod Charlie fit into the mix for you in the Classic?
Did you say Rock Your World's going to the Pennsylvania Derby?
They said Pennsylvania Derby or Awesome again for both of those horses.
Oh, God. That's embarrassing. Where does say it again? Was it Hot Rod Charlie? Is that what
where does he fit there?
You blew my mind with the Rock Your World. Hot Rod Charlie certainly fits, right? But here's the deal. We've seen it. He's most effective on the lead.
Right.
I just don't know how he's going to be on the lead at the Breeders' Cup. I don't know how anybody other than Nick's Go is going to be on the lead. So what's the options? Is he going to press Nick's Go? Not going to go well. Or is he just going to sit behind him, maybe make kind of a mid-run and get, on the board type of race? I don't see a scenario where he can win the Classic, but he's going to play a factor in it.
I really don't want to. I mean, I haven't wanted anything to do with Rock Your World for a while now until he gets back on turf. And originally they had said Del Mar Derby, which is this coming weekend, was the goal. And then they said, well, he's training really well. Let's go to the Pacific Classic. And then they scratched him because they said, well, Tripoli's going to win it. So then they put him in this race instead of the Del Mar Derby. Still, I don't understand it. That horse is bred for the turf, but they're going to ruin him if they keep this going. Speaking of Del Mar, Aaron, we got one race to talk about on Saturday, the Grade 2 $200,000 Pat O'Brien Stakes. They're going 7 furlongs, 1 turn on the dirt. So, of course, this is a Breeders' Cup winner for the dirt mile. Ginobili gets the job done at 5-1. Extremely impressive. Second straight 100-plus buyer speed figure that he gets. Both races when wearing blinkers. That it seemed to have really turned this horse around. I was texting you earlier if you watched this race to know if we could talk about it. You and I both made the same mistake. We both had this horse on top originally, somehow talked ourselves off of it, Ginobili on top and put Flagstaff on top. Didn't work out here. I'm curious to hear, though, like what your thoughts were on that one, why you made that decision. And then the burning question, is Ginobili a legitimate threat in the Big Ass Fans Dirt Mile?
I'm not very smart is the answer to the first one. I had Ginobili on top all the way up until you hit submit on the back end to make the picks go on the front end. Literally, I had him that long, and I changed it. I thought, Flagstaff will probably just kind of outclass him. Like, I had this all like drawn up in my head. My imagination was running wild of Ginobili was going to turn and they have the lead, and they're going to have to come get him. And I thought, no, Flagstaff will wear him down. He's not anywhere close. I mean, Ginobili just cruised. So stupid pick by me. As far as this horse going forward, I think the biggest thing you got to take away from this horse has blossomed at Del Mar, right? I mean, he's looked really good at this meet. Mm-hmm. The Breeders' Cup's at Del Mar. I think that gives him a chance. If it was at a different track, I wouldn't be sure. But being at Del Mar, I think it's interesting. So, yeah, I'm taking him pretty seriously going forward.
So the reason I'm mad at myself for taking it off is because the rail, I did some watching that the dirt at Del Mar, the inside seemed to be a little rough for horses, especially sprinting. And I was like, man, Flagstaff has looked so good. He's been at the best. I was trying to beat CZ Rocket. I didn't think he was going to win. I liked how be it. That was a pretty poor decision. But I was like, do you know what? Ginobili's going to get hurt on the rail, and that's my thing. I just don't know that he'll be able to get off. Fast forward after the race, Drayden Van Dyke's in the winner's circle. He says, yeah, I said, Richie just told me, he said, if you can, just try and get him off the rail early and sit on the outside of the speed, and then you'll win if you do that. And I'm like, well, I didn't know Drayden knew to do that. So that's what made me mad. Like, that was the perfect move. And by the way, did you see the story that Baltus has been getting calls nonstop since that race? People, agents trying to steal the mountain away from Drayden?
Well, if they wouldn't be doing their job if they weren't trying to call. I mean,
Yeah.
that's my deal. I saw some people go, "Oh, what a cutthroat business!" It's like, you don't think this happens in every business in the world? Like, this is not separate from horse racing to anything else. I mean,
I saw during the Breeders' Cup when I was at Santa Anita when I was doing the morning workout stuff. I was on the backside and I saw that there like a couple jockey agents going to trainer, like trainer by trainer. Hi, I'm so and so, agent for so and so. Hey, listen, do you have anybody for this? Can we talk to you about this? But the thing would be a really great fit for you on this one. I'm just like, and that's the hustle. And they got told no, and they literally moved to the next trainer 5 feet away, and they knew exactly what horse they wanted to try and poach from that one. And it's impressive. Those guys make the good ones make their money.
well, I'll say the sharpest people in the game are the jockey agents. I've said that on our shows a lot, whether it's filling in here or blinkers off or even Ricky's Rockets. These jockey agents, they have to know this kind of stuff, and so that is a really good sign for us that they might like Ginobili at the Breeders' Cup. If they're already knocking at the door, that means they saw that performance and they said, okay, all right, well, we got to do some planning here. And they say, well, who rode this horse? Was Flavian on him? No. Was Umberto? No. Drayden Van Dyke? Yeah, we might be able to get that one. And seriously, I mean, that's all it is to it. And don't think that Ron Anderson, Joel's agent, didn't give a call. I would think that, Karen McLaughlin, you think Louis Syeds would look good on that horse? I do, so that's just how that goes.
Yeah, I think it's great that Richie Balta said he's going to keep with Drayden, but yeah. I didn't understand the outrage. Some people lost their minds. I'm with you. That's exactly what their job is to do. Just like our job is to entertain you and to tell you what we thought about the horse racing. That's going to do it for this episode of the Magic Mike Show. Thanks for joining us live in the chat. We really appreciate you guys. Some nice comments there from Coach Guerin. Really appreciate it. Aaron, I want to give you a special commendation because once again, you and Jared, you guys freaking crushed it with the guide, the inside track to the Travers Stakes, the live bankroll, which is what I tell people. If you're going to buy the guides, get the ones that have the live bankrolls in it and play it. Your ROI continues to be positive. You guys did really great. You're a little close to having just like an epic weekend, but you pressed your opinions even though it was chalky. You knew which ones were going to be good. You knew to bet Latruska, so my hat's off to you guys. You did a great job.
Well, thanks. Yeah, we'll go over the guide probably fully on Thursday on Blinkers Off, and I think that's always a pretty good segment to try to get. We'll kind of be inside the mind, so to speak, of why we did what we did. It was really good. A very non-stressful day. I mean, we were up the whole day. It was never really in doubt. It was definitely a card where you couldn't play a pick three ticket for $1 with 36 combinations. It was the type of card where you had to play $30 straight pick threes and $20 pick fours with 2 or 3 combinations. You had to pound opinions, like you said, Magic. You had to bet some chalk that maybe wasn't going to pay that great. You just had to do it. So that's where we landed, and thankfully our opinions were good and that and solid on those big horses. So yeah, it was a good day. Like I said, very non-stressful, fun day as far as the wagering went.
Awesome. Always a good day when you can just breathe and enjoy yourself at the track. Not that it's from a bunch of emails. When's the next guy going to be? Do you have that in mind yet?
That's a good question. We'll do one in September, and then we'll do one in October, and then we'll do the Breeders' Cup, Cigar Mile, and Malibu to round out the year. So there's 5 left. I have not determined what we'll do next, actually. I'm debating on that. But there will be one in September, one in October. I'm guessing we'll probably do maybe Belmont. No, we'll do Keeneland, the Maker's Mark Day, probably for one. And I think that's October.
Yep.
So I got to find a September one. Not sure yet.
Well, tune into that one. We'll let you know later. Coming up this week, it's going to be pretty busy for Aaron and I because Labor Day weekend means Saturday, Sunday, and Monday epic stakes action. Del Mar and Saratoga, they're closing down, which is always sad, but we're not going to go away without some more big stakes action. The Spinaway and the Debutante for the 2-year-old fillies, the Futurity and the Hopeful for the boys. It's going to be a lot of fun. Lots of previews over at racenews.com where you can get all your picks. The premium products, they're put together by that guy right there. So when you win, that's who you get to thank. If they lose, blame Ricky, right?
Wait. Yeah, it's his fault.
Yeah, my fault. Yeah, that's true.
If I lose, it's Magic's fault. He gave me the picks that day. So. It's you know how it is. Some days you win, some days you lose. You just need to win more than you lose.
Yeah, Kentucky Downs opens Saturday too, which I'm a little bummed about just because it's going to get overshadowed. I'm afraid they only have 6 days that they race, and they're going to get overshadowed this weekend. But if you play
Saturday, like my mind's going to be on overload, right? Because you got Kentucky Downs, you got Saratoga, you got Del Mar. The OU football game is now a home game because they're going to play at Tulane in New Orleans. Well, the hurricane hit New Orleans.
Yeah.
They moved the game to Norman. So all of a sudden, I'm going to a football game at 11. And I got to watch Kentucky Downs, Saratoga, and Del Mar at the football game and on the drive home. So that's going to be a lot of fun.
So if you're driving from from Oklahoma to Missouri, watch out for somebody who's swerving and looking like this the whole time while they're driving.
Oh, by the way, there's 6 ranked matchups in week 1 of college football. So it's a busy Saturday coming up.
So that's why you drank so much last weekend, because your liver's going to have to take this weekend off, because otherwise you won't be able to function.
Yep, exactly. Well, like I said, it's a 3-hour drive or 3.5-hour drive back there and back to Norman. So you can't be drinking during that.
Well, thanks again, buddy, for joining me. I appreciate it. I'll be back probably tomorrow, Tuesday, with Mike Salmich to hear about NHC and his thoughts about Saratoga and Del Mar. Follow Aaron and Jared on Twitter at @racing_dudes. I am at Curtis Keller with Mr. Salmich at SummerBomb18, number 1, number 8. This is going to be a fun weekend. Lots of crazy action, but I'm excited for it. Hopefully you're excited for it. We'll be back later this week. On Thursday, it's going to be the Magic Mike Show and Blinkers Off. You can catch Aaron every other day this week in the morning with Ricky. And also, you're going to be on Dudes Who Bet Sports. Are you on Thursday?
Yeah, we're going to be on Thursday,
okay.
And we'll be talking all the ranked college football games, plus our best bet of the week, our underdog of the week, and the game we're most looking forward to. So
make sure you guys on Thursday, don't do it now, but on Thursday, congratulate Dennis for his Fresno bet too.
That's right. Yeah, my dad texted me about 9:30 at night. I was eating dinner at Saratoga. He goes, "Hey, Dennis hit his Fresno bet." And I'm like, "Yeah, he sure did. Minus 25 or 27.5, and I think they won 45-0." So, I got a kick out of my dad being pumped for Dennis. So
I love that he is excited about it. Your dad sounds like a great guy. I hope I get to meet him someday soon. We'll be back on Thursday or Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday. We'll be back here pretty much every day. We'll see you the next time that we're on. Until then, I'm Magic. He's Aaron Halterman. Have a good week.
The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.